Hello, this is Susan from Propagate, and today I'm going to show you how to take a semi-hardwood cutting off a white currant. Now the reason I'm doing it on this particular one is because I planted it basically just in the wrong place. So I'm going to dig it out later in the year and move it, but in case that kills it off, I'm going to take some cuttings and then hopefully I've got some backups. I'm going to take a few and I'm going to show you how to do it. Okay, so as with many of my videos, this is a slightly awkward one to film. Now, this is one of the branches of a white currant. Now if you can see here, this is last year's growth and this above is this year's growth. Now where I'm going to take the cutting is in this year's growth, and you want to take it just above a leaf. So the last thing you want to leave there on the plant itself is a leaf. You cut it at the joint because at the joints the plant is most sort of adaptive. So if you cut it just above a leaf joint, it will hopefully throw out a new shoot there. Whereas if you cut it in the middle of a twig, it's less likely to be able to produce a new shoot at that point. So first of all, I'm going to cut it just here. Okay, so here is my twig, and it's roughly 7 or 8 inches long, I'd say. And I've cut it off just above the leaf joint, as I described. And now I'm going to prepare the end. So, like you want to leave a joint on the original bush, what you want to have here is you want the end to be a joint. So, I'm going to look at the next leaf up, and I'm going to make a cut here. Okay, so now I've cut a small section off the end, such that the very bottom of my cutting has a leaf. Now I'm going to, so that's an adaptive joint effectively, so that will mean it's easier for the plant to grow roots there. So now I'm going to strip off the leaves off all the bottom half, and probably even including that one, and just leave a few leaves at the top. Now I've stripped the lower leaves off, I've got about maybe 5 inches of bare twig, and now I'm going to plant it. Okay, so we're back and we've got our cutting here, haven't we? So what we're going to do now is we're going to mix up the potting mixture. So we've got some very, very well rotted compost, basically soil here, and then
some sharp sand.
And exactly, and some sharp sand. So the sharp sand is something you would have to buy it as like a horticultural product. You can play with it. So we're going to do a 50-50 mix. So do you want to start scooping some of the sharp sand into the soil for me? I'll do a bit as well. And we'll mix it in here so we can see the consistency. And the reason you're doing this is because you don't want the potting mixture to be too wet, and the sharp sand will help it drain very well. If it's too wet, your cutting will just rot. Mix a bit more in maybe. If you were doing the cuttings directly into the earth, what people would generally do would be get bare earth, cut a trench in with a spade, and then they would just like cut a long line with a spade and they would line the bottom with sharp sand. But we're going to do some pot. Yeah, I reckon a bit more. Alright. What do you think? One more? We'll get a good big one this one. Alright. Alright. Okay, so we've got our mixture. It should look roughly like that. That'll drain nicely. I'll put the sharp sand aside. You want to put that down the far end?
Should we put some more in?
One more bit if you want. Alright, now let's start mixing this into the pot, okay?
How do we mix it?
Would you place it in the pot like this?
Why?
Because that's what we're going to put the cutting into.
But then I can't play with it.
You can play with it after. Okay, so we've filled up our pot, and then we're going to get the cutting. Now, do you want to do this bit, Iona?
Yeah.
What we're going to do is we're going to put the cutting roughly half the depth of the bare twig deep, and we're going to put it at the side of the pot. Can you do that? You pop it down right at the side. Whoop, do it again, push a bit more. That's it. Okay. So you definitely don't want any leaves in the soil, and you want a little bit of bare stalk sticking out the top. Okay?
When can I play with it?
Very, very, very soon. Right, we give it a bit of a water, but you don't, as I said, you want this to drain, so you're not going to keep watering this, but it's good to water it in to kind of set the mixture. And then what you're going to do is you're going to get a bag, or you could use a 2 litre plastic bottle, cut off the bottom and use it as a little cloche. We're going to use a plastic bag. Now, ideally what you want is you don't want any of the leaves touching the bag, because you don't want them to get sort of condensation and rot. So put the bag over. Do you want to help me with the rubber band?
Yeah.
Hold one end.
My penny.
Okay, alright, well, I'll tell you what. You lift the bag up a bit for me. Okay, and we'll turn it around so they can see. Okay, I think we might have to pull this up a little bit just to get it off the leaves.
Can I play with this?
Yep. Okay, you might adjust that a little bit more after, or even it might need a slightly bigger bag actually. But basically you get the idea. And now I'm going to place it somewhere not in direct sunlight, because direct sunlight would end up making it wilt. And I'm going to leave it, and I'm going to keep checking the bottom, and when you start getting roots coming out the bottom, it's ready to pot on or plant on. This is a white currant. You could use this method also with a red currant, because they grow in the same way. However, black currants are actually part of the same family, but they grow in a different manner. This cutting method wouldn't work in quite the same way with a black currant. Additionally, the other thing I was going to say is that you can take hardwood cuttings later in the year. So it's September now. If you miss the opportunity, September, maybe early October, don't worry, you can still do it. And is there anything else we needed to add?
Bye bye.